Welcome back to Gentry's Garage. This time we're going to be back on the 56 again. In the last video we built this car and it was a pretty low budget car except for the engine. And he decided he wants a blower motor in this car. So we're also going to change some stuff on the front suspension and steering. We're going to put a regular steering gearbox, put an upgraded wiring harness in the car, and try to get some of this stuff sorted out so it drives better. So I'm going to fire it up and pull it into the shop. We're going to pop the front end off and pull the engine out, and then we're going to start getting ready to upgrade everything else. Okay, so if you saw in the last video I did on this car, when I put it together so it can be taken apart relatively easy. So like the front end, it just comes off in one piece and it's just a few bolts to take it off. All the lights unplug to make it easy, even though it doesn't really matter because we're getting rid of this harness. So we're just gonna drain all the fluids on this thing now, pull the exhaust, the front end will come off in one piece, and then we'll pop the engine out. It shouldn't take very long to get the engine out of this car. Yeah, I guess we'll pull the carb off next. Disconnect all the wiring, pull the headers. He's already got the exhaust loose, so we'll pop the headers off real quick and get this thing out again. On a side note, the boys and I installed a new AC in the shop, 3-ton mini split, and it's only set at 82 right now, but it keeps the shop really nice and cool. Works great, and it makes it a lot easier to hear on camera. The fans aren't running in the background as much, so that's pretty much, well, that's the excuse I used to justify getting the AC. Not the fact that I was hot and melting into the shop every day. So. Cool. I ought to show them your hair. Let me see it. All right. So, see how bad it was in the shop? Dylan went and cut all his hair off. It was down almost to his bottom, down to there. Yeah. Down to there. It was long. So he cut all his hair off just to try to stay a little cooler. It's hot. And then we went and got an AC in it. And now he's upset.
Well, look, at least I don't have to worry about rolling over it with the creeper.
That is true. That is very painful. All right, we'll get started on this.
Cool.
So we're gonna pull this thing out real quick. Pull it out with the winch.
Yep. Pull the big block with the ceiling. Stop
There.
All right, you think?
Gotta give her a wiggle. Here, hold this.
There it goes. Be careful with the lines on the old.
Yeah, I know that's causing a problem right there. Hold on. Should went ahead and pulled the bolts out before I took the lid off of it.
This should be all right.
Let's see if this front end will pick up here.
Oh, be careful. Distribution system.
Okay.
I'll put my shoe up.
Hold on. Where is it? Clear there.
The back of the transmission looks good. Looks all separated
What
to me.
going on here?
Seems good.
Put this over here.
Yeah, that needs to go over. No, it's, what is that? That's transmission coolant line, isn't it? Or is it not? It's fuel line. Never mind.
No,
Sorry.
it's not, this is a fuel line.
Yeah.
Just trying to get this other that untangled. This needs to unplug here.
Cool.
All right, so you just got to push the car back slowly.
Okay.
You push it back.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hold on. Okay.
Go back into the door. All right, we're good. Good right there.
Okay.
All right, let's get her. Let's get our big block ski down there for the big block because we're fancy.
Keep your toes out from underneath.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. The last thing you should worry about. Ah. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it steady.
Starter's in the way.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Of course it is. Okay.
You see that impact with the 9/16.
Oh, is that actually a 9/16? Oh, extremely convenient. Sweet.
Got it? Got it. Let me see one of those 9/16. Let's go down.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Try not to slam the button up and down. You screaming at me.
Keep going. There you go. Hold on. Pick it up and tickle. Tickle. There you go. want to tickle up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. Whoa.
Down a little bit?
Down a tickle. Whoa.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Cool. Well,
So there it is.
that was extremely relaxing and not stressful.
No, it's fine. No big deal. That did not make any weird noises.
You're right. It made completely normal sounds
So,
that we've definitely heard all the time every time we use it.
there it is.
Yep.
So we're going to take the rack off this car. It's going to get a regular manual steering on it. And
Too responsive.
yeah, so there's a couple of issues. When the front end, when the front wheels come up, it gets really close to pulling this out. I do have limiting straps on it right here behind the shocks. But the rack is really twitchy also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, manual box will be fine. You can't
Yeah.
drive a hot rod with manual box. So.
I mean, you don't really need power steering on a race car.
No, it's just going straight.
Yeah. I think it'll be all right.
Okay. So got the front end of the car all cleaned up, got the wiring out, took the engine mounts out, the brake lines are out, all of it's gone. Got the engine sitting here, fixing to put the engine in and get a mock-up location. I'll just block it up, bolt it to the trans, so we can fit the steering gear box and see where it's gonna go. I really want the engine in while I'm doing this, so if I need to, I can hang headers and check clearances for steering shafts and all that stuff. So I'm gonna spin you around and show the engine real quick. So here's the engine we went with. It's a 468. He picked this up from a buddy. Freshened it up a little bit. And he's got a poly sniper to go on it with the distributor and everything to control it. So we'll see how that thing runs on this. So I just need to get my engine hoist out here and slide it on in, and I'll connect a couple of transmission bolts, and then I'm going to block it up for now and just mock it in at the height I want it, and start mocking up the steering. Check out my new shirt. You see that? One of the first ones we're going to start with. We do have several other ideas on shirts that we want to put together. But we had to start somewhere, and I had a hard time getting some of the locals around here to print some shirts for me for some reason. I don't know why everybody was being so difficult about it. it's been a couple of days. We were waiting on some parts and stuff like that. I already got the wiring harness put back in the car and rewired it where it plugs into the front end. The wiring harness I put in this time is a painless wiring harness, 22 circuit, and it'll have all the stuff in it for blinkers and stuff like that he wants. The other wiring harness was a really inexpensive wiring harness, and it was just to get the car on the road. So he decided after he drove it a little while that he really wanted to put a good wiring harness in it and do some more work like this engine and stuff like that. So we got a pretty good idea where I'm going to put the steering gear box. It's going to go down in here on the frame rail. I do want to slide it back a little bit. So I'm going to pull the engine out and clean up the old frame rail back in here a little bit. And then I'll get the box in, or then I'll put the motor back in and put the box in and start mocking up the steering and making sure that's going to work. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to go ahead and get this engine pulled back out real quick so we can get in there and clean that up. So here's where I want to mount the steering gear box. I want to mount it right in here somewhere. So we got some choices. If the frame was a little bit wider, it would have been a little bit better for the steering, but I think we can move it back here and flatten some of this out. And I hope the inside frame rail goes back a decent ways, because if it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to plate some stuff in. But I think we can put it right about there. And as you can see from this angle, come around over here. This is where the old motor mount bracket I had was in there. So that's why I cut both of them out. I want them both to look the same, and we're probably gonna do some, maybe some front plates, I don't know. But we'll see. So I'm just gonna clean this up here and then get ready to mock this up. We'll have to put the engine back in when we get ready to mock it up, but you know, it's no big deal. The reason we got to put the engine back in is this thing is barely going to clear the oil pan when we're all said and done. So it's got to be really close. Frame's all cleaned up now. I just moved it back and I did hammer it in, and I'm gonna brace some of this and re-weld it off. But now the box would have only come to here. That's where we were fighting at it. So now we can put it at that angle, which will be better for this, maybe right in there. And then I can get a bolt underneath the frame and then two through the frame and weld the bracket on at the same time. So it'll be really nice and strong, and I'll sleeve the frame too on the bolts that go through it. But in order to make sure we get it in the right spot, we got to get the engine back in now. We're gonna throw this thing back in there real quick. Got one of the motor plates I had here, but I really don't think it's gonna work. We're just putting it on there to look at it as we put it back in. And we've got, you know, got to get some parts, more parts ordered.
Yeah. All right, we're just doing a test just to see how she looks, right?
Yeah. This is just putting it in there. This is also so we can make sure we know where the steering gear box is going to be at. As long as it clears everything. But I've got the U-joints coming, so I need to get this back in there so when the U-joints get here, we can put the steering together and see and make sure the steering gear box isn't going to bind. And then once we make sure it's not going to bind, then we'll mark the locations, drill the holes, plate the frame, and all that good stuff.
Let's see if I can actually get this in there. Sure, if you want.
I don't know.
You're the YouTuber.
I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. Listen, I was just trying to share. That's good. That other motor plate is going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna go ahead and go to a motor plate, but we're gonna get one and bring it down to the frame here. We'll put a flange on the frame, it'll sit down here and bolt in. And it'll hold all the bolts, and then we can probably trim out right here for the lower alternator bracket, is what I'm hoping for. So I'm gonna get those parts ordered.
You're in it.
Seriously?
Yes.
I'm gonna get those parts ordered. So I'm gonna get all these parts ordered, the other drag link, the double D U-joints for the steering gear box. And that way we can make sure all that stuff clears the headers once we put everything together. So we're gonna order some parts real quick and then we'll be right back. We got most of the parts in, and off camera, while I was waiting for a couple little things, I fitted some stuff. And this, I got the steering gear box hung in here. If you can swing around here, you can see how it just barely clears. But it clears plenty of room. And my goal with the steering gear box location, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Everybody gets nervous mounting these, and what I'm really going for is trying to get the best, I don't know where y'all can even see this. So you gotta have balance between steering angle and steering column in this situation. So I've just balanced it as best I can between the angle of the pitman arm, the way it lines up, and then on full rotation where it clears everything. And right now it just barely clears the oil pan, the spring, and all the other components will clear just fine. So now I got to pull everything apart. It's got to get drilled through the frame, and I'm going to sleeve the frame on the top two bolts right there. And then the bottom one here, I've got a sleeve tacked in right there. So I'm going to fully weld that in onto the bottom of the frame, and maybe even put a little gusset that comes down here or something. So now we got to get everything apart. Got to plasma cut the front plate out. This is where the alternator will hang here. And then I did the other side to match. So I'm going to plasma cut the plate out, clean it all up. It'll get pieces in here with a bolt going through, some flat plate here and on the inside on both sides. And then we can start putting this thing back together. All right, so I went ahead and made these plates real quick. The edges are beveled and they'll go on the inside here. And then they'll just get welded to the frame. Be nice and easy to unbolt. It'll sit right back in the same spot every time. So I'm just gonna burn these in real quick, and then we'll be ready to take the engine out. Cool. I'll get down there and you can look at it. Good. Ain't going nowhere. And then I'll weld the rest of it. Will you pull that around here?
Hold on. Cool. No more.
Okay.
Cool. Be careful though. That's some angle.
Yeah, drift car.
Yeah, basically.
It doesn't hit there.
No.
So it clears everywhere, just barely clears the spring. Clears the spring on the other side. Doesn't catch. Turns pretty smooth. I like it.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely better.
So now that we got the engine out, we tested everything, got that stuff where we know it's going to work. All this can come back off. And I've got to drill 2 holes all the way through the frame. And then I'm going to sleeve the inside of the frame and then take this plate back off and sleeve it and weld it on both sides. And then I'll put the plate back on and then weld the plate to the frame. That'll make it really strong, so if you ever get in a situation, it's not anything to do with the mounting surface if something else breaks. So just making sure it's safe.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, so we got the engine out. The engine's out, got everything welded and cleaned up. It's welded all the way around and it's sleeved through the frame. Plates are welded on both sides for the front plate. Everything's just cleaned up and welded. Now as far as the front mounts, I think I'm gonna keep those for now. And then I'll just mount the radiator up here because I think it'll miss everything. But got the front plate over here. I'm gonna use the plasma cutter to cut it because I don't have a bandsaw. And then I'll just clean up the edges, it'll be all right. So I'm gonna get to work on that. The front plate all trimmed up and finished fitted. And before I show you, I might have got a little carried away. Originally we just planned on leaving it just aluminum and not messing with it, but there was a couple little scratches on it, so I threw a 600 cut on it and then polished it a little bit. And it turned out pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. The alternator's fitted with the belt. I had to put one little washer and I removed the back bracket that came with the kit because it's almost the same thickness as the plate. Notched the plate a little bit to fit and we're ready to go with that. So I'm gonna come over here and hang the steering gear box, get the all the linkage aligned right, make sure it fits right. I'm gonna shoot some paint on it real quick. And I've got to still clean up the axle. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. So here's how it turned out. I'll show you how it turned out. One hand. And I know there's not any weight in it, but it's not about the weight right this second. It's just about the smoothness of how it works. So there's lock to lock. And the alignment has to be worked on a little bit, no big deal. So now we're getting ready to throw the engine back in. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull this bar off the steering gear box and tie it to the drag link, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the drag link off the steering gear box and tie it to the tie rod bar. And then we'll throw the engine in real quick and start putting this thing back together. We got the fuel tank over here. It's all set up. It's all pre-wired. I've got the plumbing laid out a little bit of how I want it to be. Headers are on. I went ahead and welded a bung in this header
for the O2 sensor. So now I'm gonna do the throttle body, throw the throttle body on here real quick, and start making some plug wires and stuff like that. So I'll get over here and show you what I got. Got a trans adapter to go from a 4500 flange to 4150 with gaskets. And then here's the throttle body, and then I've got the spark plug wires laid out over here. We'll make some spark plug wires. So got some awesome crimping pliers to make them. Makes life a whole lot easier. So we'll go ahead and throw this on in the throttle body, and then start making some spark plug wires. Okay, so I got the passenger side laid out and just tied them up temporary so I can get them the right length and make sure they're going to clear everything down in there. All right, and they come around and I've laid them out to where I want them. So I'll mark them, and I'm going to do this side first, and then I'll do the other side. The reason I started with this side first is the plugs lean forward on this side, so these are going to be a little bit longer than the driver's side. And just making sure, but this is a universal set, so they're pretty long anyway, and they're going to work great. So I'm going to get these off, mark these, and get these off now, and get them over here to the table and show you what I'm working with. Okay, so I got the plug wires laid out here, and this isn't terribly complicated, but these pliers do help out a lot. So if you've ever ordered one of these universal kits, they come with this little block here. And you use this block and you put it in your vise and you crimp the wires in this block, right? So it's also got measuring, how far to measure it. We'll use that for measuring. And because you can cut it off, and then you use a razor blade to trim your wire to that length. It's no big deal, they just need to be about that long. So I've got them all marked. That's essentially the top of the wire. So I'll mark the top of the wire so it's oriented correctly, I guess. And then we'll strip it back. We'll put the tip on. I'll show you how to put the rubber on, make it nice and easy for you. And then we'll put these on, and we'll be done. Put this side back on, do the other side. So I'll get to it right here and show you. Okay, so just gonna trim this wire off to my mark. These aren't exactly the right ones to do it with, but they cut that inner piece really well. And then to cut it, you just take these and you put them in there to your desired length. And it's got a cutter built into it. And you just give her a twist and it pulls right off, okay? Now to put the sleeve on, the boot on, here's the way I like to do it. It saves a decent amount of time. This is just some extra thick electrical tape. And you can use regular electrical tape, but this is the way I like to do it. So I'll wrap it around the wire. Tape it back to itself. Fold this up a little bit. I have to get a pair of those pliers. And you slide it in. Get it all the way where you can see it inside the thing. And then you reach down in here and pull it out. No big deal. And then a little window cleaner. And it pulls right onto the wire. Digs it down into the wire, crimps it really good. Put a little more on this guy here. There we go. Now you just pull your thing back up.
Oh no! Almost made a big breach.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Too slippery.
Yeah. Let's go.
Is it good?
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it right there. I like doing it that way. It makes it really easy for me. It keeps your fingers from hurting trying to shove it in there all the time. That one's done. I'm going to do the rest of these and then move on to the other side. Got all the spark plug wires built and on. Tucked nice and neat around to the back of the engine. Shouldn't be any issues with overheating them on either side. They clear the steering gear box over here quite well. So now that the plug wires are done, I'm going to move on to the fuel and get all that set in place and built. And then I'll put the computer in and put the front end on and set the radiator. So. Okay, so I got the new tank up in there, mocked in. And I just wanted to see how it fit, see how the new hardware, this thing came with all new hardware. So I even pulled out the carriage bolts and put the new carriage bolts in it. But you can't get to any of the fuel connections with it in the car. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and make me just a couple of short pigtails that come out. They come out right here in front or something like that, and I'll tie them up. That way I can get to the tank a little easier. And then I can build the rest of the fuel system to the pigtails that are here. So that's what I'm gonna work on right now. I'm gonna get some pigtails built and take this back out, put the pigtails on, and then put the tank back in. And there we go. Fuel tank's up in there, all new hardware, and looks good. There's the stub outs for the fuel, tied up nice and neat. Okay, so I was just laying the wiring harness in for the Holly. I laid it in, built some nice little aluminum brackets to hold it, and I was test fitting it, and then, well, it's mounted now, so sorry I didn't get that on camera, but it connects in here, and we're using the full Hyperspark with the distributor. So it goes all the way under here. It's already plugged into the coil, then it drops inside. Everything's going down. We've got all the wires down here to run to the battery and the fuel pump. It's got a fuel pump relay built into this one. So that'll run back to the fuel pump, and then I'll build a little harness back at the fuel pump for the ground and build a little wiring harness for the sending unit. He did make a change on me, and he bought a different dash for this car. So I'm gonna have to pull the dash back out, wire some different gauges in, and so I'll have to undo part of the harness and run those wires when the dash gets here. So it should be here in a couple of days. I need to get it back on the lift to run those wires to the back of the car. And then inside, I built this little bracket, right, where the Hyperspark sits, and it will go back in here behind the dash. This light's not going to work very well for this camera, probably. So it'll go in here behind the dash. It's hard to see. Let's go up like this. There. So it'll sit in there, bolts into the dash, existing holes. And when it's tight, it'll pull up higher. And then I can run the main harness wire around and plug it right into it. So it'll be up out of everybody's way and out of the way of water, hopefully. So I don't think it's gonna, I think this is gonna be a really good location for it. So everything's right here, hidden under the dash. It'll keep the car looking semi old school. And then I'm gonna mount the control panel for the Holly right here. So hopefully it won't get hit by any knees or anything like that. I did make a little bracket for behind it. It's drying and painted it, so it's drying right now, and I'm just gonna rivet that in. But it's slowly coming together. When the gauges get here, I'll put those new gauges in. I gotta pull the steering column all the way back out to even get the dash out because the roll bar goes under the steering column. And then I'll have to dig into the wiring harness to get all the wires out for those gauges. So, and build a new loom for that as well. So, but it's making progress, and as soon as that comes in, we'll get that in. And this thing's getting really close. I still have to do the water pump. So I'm gonna be working on that here shortly, and the fans. The radiator, I've got to build brackets for the radiator, and I've got to build a fan shroud. So the radiator I got was from Summit, and it had a fans and a shroud that came with it. Well, the shroud didn't fit, so I called them back, and all their shrouds were made exactly the same way, which was a 1/2 inch too short to fit the radiator. And I could have probably stretched it, but I decided just to get a piece of aluminum. I'll make a fan shroud myself, and hopefully it fits better. So once I get all this stuff buttoned up, I've got to put the front end on to fit the radiator in the front end to build the brackets the way I want. And then we'll get the radiator in. I've got the brakes back on the front. Now, I haven't put the lines in yet because I want to fit the radiator and make sure all the lines fit around the radiator. I hope I don't have to make new brake lines, but if I do, that's just the way it is. So the only thing that's left to hook up on the Holly is the O2 sensor. And I'm gonna run that down into the car and tie it up nice and neat. The O2 sensor that came with the kit has a really long tail, so it'll be really nice to be able to put it wherever I want for that connection. The harness that came with this, everything laid out pretty nice to do it the way I did it here. I did have to take apart the harness here to move a few wires around to get them to lay out the way I wanted to, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I just had to move them around in the harness a little bit and then retape the harness. So it turned out okay for this application. I did have to extend the positive and negative wires because the battery's in the back of this car, and these aren't set up for that. They're set up for a conventional car, so no big deal. I do have to run a power wire for the alternator, which is a 1-wire alternator. So I'll run that around to the junction point. And when you hook up any of these aftermarket ignition systems or anything like that, they have to be hooked up directly to the battery. And the reason for that is the battery is kind of like a shock absorber or a filter for the electrical system. So if you have any spikes or anything like that going into it, the battery is supposed to absorb that. Now these systems are still pretty finicky, and from what I understand, if you try to hook up too big of a charger, it will fry the system. So you got to be careful with that. And I'm going to try to set it up to where that's not going to be an issue for him, but I guess we'll see what happens when we get to that point. So I'm going to get back to work here. I think I got everything about buttoned up under here. Here's the vent for the fuel. It goes up, way up in the fender and then bends over. And I put a fuel filter on to keep debris out. I did not do that brake line, so we're just gonna, there, that's better. We're good. Hold on, let me. There we go. There we go. That's better. All right, all the fuel lines tied up, everything's wired in. I like to weld my grounds on. So So there's a ground, and then that one goes over to the other side. There's a ground welded on over there. Quick disconnect for the tank, so the tank can come out in it easy. Everything's buttoned up under here. So torque converter bolts are in. Alternator is hooked up. Got the front axle all cleaned up where the rack and pinion was mounted at. And I did that with a tubing sander that I got off of Amazon. But not too bad for a quick little paint job on the front axle. I've still got to put the brake lines on the front up here, but I'm going to do that after I get the radiator hung in it. So, and the master cylinder started leaking. So I've got to put a new master cylinder on it. I've got it ordered. It wasn't leaking when it came in, it just started leaking while I was here. So, oh, and the exhaust fit. So I'm excited about that. Both of them fit. I had to just adjust them a little bit here and the bracket back at the back, but it fit pretty well. So get this thing on the ground and put the front end on it and move forward. Okay, so here's going to be the first time we've tried to fire it. Check your fuel leak.
You've got like nine, oh, there we go. Normal.
Fuel pressure was there?
It went up to like 80.
80, alright, we gotta turn it down.
And that's back down to like 30 right now.
Yeah, but it's gonna bleed off.
I don't see any leakage from anywhere.
Hold on a second.
Oh, it's like 90 now.
Am I going the wrong way?
Oh, it's way more than 90. That's about 150. Okay. I got 70.
Staying at 70?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 55.
Good.
So. Or I guess like 59 maybe? I don't know, it was right close. It was really on 60.
Right on
almost.
60?
It was almost. It was like just to the left.
Okay.
Perfect.
60?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No fuel dripping. Yeah,
Do you want to tighten up that thing or is it good?
That's good. Let's see what this
Oh,
thing does.
well,
Cross your fingers.
got them crossed, dude. Bit smoky.
Started.
It did.
You gotta check oil pressure and stuff.
Yeah, it smoked it up big time. Check out. You started and it just poured out like a diesel on the other side. All right.
Okay, so adjusted the idle a little bit with just an idle screw and checked a couple other little things out. We're gonna fire it up again. Got the car on?
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
We're not gonna run it that long since there's no water in it. We just wanna make sure that everything was good. It's got 60 pounds of oil pressure, charging, and no leaks. So
Yeah.
gonna button up a couple little things, throw the front end on. We gotta bleed the brakes. I guess we should bleed the brakes, it'll be easier. And throw the front end on and then start hanging the radiator. So we're getting really close to being able to drive this thing. Okay, so we had to take the brace out because the brace was hitting the blower. And I was kind of concerned with that. I had my fingers crossed that we could keep it in there. So I have to build a new upper support for the fenders, and I'm gonna cut these braces out here because the water hose is gonna, the lower radiator hose is gonna hit. So we just got a couple blocks of wood in there and some tie wraps to hold it up to get an idea. So I'll pull the fans out and kind of hang the fans in there. And I could have done this earlier on in the build, but I was, when I ordered this, I was having issues with getting the fan shroud. Because the fan shroud that came with this, like I said before, or may not even, I don't know, fan shroud that came with these didn't fit this radiator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had to return it like 3 times before they sent the right one.
No, I mean, I still didn't get the right one.
Oh, really?
I got to build one.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I've got a piece of aluminum over there and I have to build one. They couldn't get me the right one.
Wow.
These look a little small.
Yeah.
One there, one there. It'll fit.
I think it'll be all right.
That'll be fine.
These electric fans are serious, man. So,
You can see how much air they move.
yeah. Gotta cut that out.
You either hold the fan or hold the wires. Can't hold it there.
Okay, I gotta hold it seriously.
Yeah.
Like right there, is that all right?
I don't know.
'Cause I don't want it to fly in my hand and
Well, don't let it fly out of your hand.
cut my fingers off.
There's decent amount of air, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Pretty quiet.
Yeah. Hopefully it's enough.
These are the kind you need on the 72. Yeah.
Hopefully it's enough air. Anyway, so we're gonna start putting that together. And hopefully we can get this thing done. Having issues with the brakes bleeding out right now.
Yeah.
So we're still working on bleeding the brakes out. We've got to go get some more fluid and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And put these on. Yes. Ready.
Awesome.
Yeah. We got the car all together. Just finished buttoning up the radiator hoses and the electric fan wiring. Filling it up with coolant. Hopefully there's no leaks. And gonna run the first heat cycle through it. So we got the spacer for the pulley. So now you can look down the side of it and see that the belt's straight. So I guess we'll fire it up.
Got the support.
Yeah, the radiator core support's done. I don't know how much gas it has.
I don't know either.
We should probably put gas in it.
Okay.
Let me put gas in it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's from the
the oil leak.
yeah, the valve covers or something.
Valve covers or the blower or something like that. Let's get closer. Okay, so now we got fuel in it, we're gonna start it.
What's that all about?
Probably a little bit more chickens. So we just stopped for fuel. The blower belt was a little bit loose, so Dylan had to run up here and rescue us. And no leaks. Everything sounds pretty good. So we're gonna head back to the house now.
The man, the myth, the legend.
$175 degrees.
Oh, sweet. It's not so awesome from behind, dude. Whenever you manage it after that lady turn, it's not so good. Did it? Oh, dude. Oh, my way, dude. No. What do you think of that, Paul?
175 degrees.
Oh, sweet. It sounds so awesome from behind, dude. Whenever you matted it after that lady turned, it sounded so good.
I bet you could hear that like
Oh,
a
dude.
mile away.
It sounds so good.
No.
Well, that's good to know how to adjust that. That makes that nice and easy. Carry certain tools with me.
What do you think?
Very happy.
Think we got a happy guy on here.
Happy man.
Yeah.
Right? Really good, doesn't
We
it?
got a couple little things
Sounds
to do to
good.
it.
Sounds so good.
I mean, you know, I think everything's seated on the blower too now.
Yeah, I didn't see any
Not really
leaks.
leaking anything anymore, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Feel super careful what I touch.
No leaks.
No leaks. We have no leaks. This is really good. So.
What gear?